What's up, everyone? I'm James Baney, and I'm here with Kyle Larson, and we are going to give you the story of what happened in Shadowfall, which is an Alphabet Squadron book. We are here today because we read through the book and we realized there's a whole bunch of details. Yeah, exactly. Whole bunch of details, and a lot of people don't always have the money to get the book, or they don't have the time to read the book, or in a lot of cases, just they don't care. They don't care enough to invest into the story. So that's why we're here. We're going to tell you basically what happened in Alphabet Squadron Shadowfall. So if you guys want to check out a review and discussion, we have another video that's up on the channel. But for right now, let's just get straight into it. Real quick. Hi, Kyle. How you doing?
James, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm ready to explain this book.
We've never talked about this book before.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the beginning of the thing. What you need to know, right? There are 5 pilots in Alphabet Squadron. They are Kairos, Will, Nath, Chas, and Yrica. Yrica is the leader of the Alphabet Squadron, and she is commanded by a man named Charon, and Charon is commanded by Harrison Dula. So that's the order that you're going to get a feeling of what the squad is like. They all come from different backstories involving the Galactic Civil War, of course. But now they all fight for the New Republic, and that is basically the plot of the first book, just them coming together. Also explained in the first book is that Yrica willingly did participate in Operation Cinder, which was knowingly blowing up planets for the Empire. But then she was later advised by her mentor to defect from the rebellion, and that's because the Empire was losing. When she defected, she lied about her participation in Operation Cinder and said that she tried to prevent it, and that was what allowed them to kind of trust her and allow her to run her own squadron. And that one detail, one last thing from the other book, is the only person who actually knows that truth about her is Charon, the person who's just right above her, but not Hera. So just Charon. What's next, Cal? That's what you need to know. Just getting started. How's this book start?
Yeah. So yeah, you set the table very nicely, but this book takes place on a planet called Troith. And it's in the system that is called the Cerberon system. So there's 3 planets there, and they're all in this kind of declining, degrading orbit around a black hole. So it's like a really eerie setting. It used to be a Coruscant-like planet until the Clone Wars, and because people figured out that these planets are eventually going to be consumed by the black hole, they mostly left the planet and it kind of fell into ruins. So they were pretty stoked when Emperor Palpatine came back and was like, "Hey, I'll fix your planet up." But we all know how those kind of things end. So Soren Keyes, who's Yrica's former mentor, he's there with the 6th Squadron of Shadow Wing. So Hera and Alphabet Squadron are trying to hatch a plan to lure them out, and that really kind of sets everything in motion. The Imperial forces, they found this old beat-up Star Destroyer called the Edict that Soren is kind of overseeing the renovation of it, fixing it up. During a routine battle, which was all part of luring them out, Kairos is shot down. While attempting to aid her and save her life because of the personal relationship with her, Charon is shot and abducted. Yrica leaves to go find him, and once she does realize that her secret is out about Operation Cinder, and that's been revealed upon Karyn'S disappearance, and then that causes a huge rift in the squadron.
Yeah. So he disappears because he was shot and captured, and then he had like a contingency of his own that if he ever disappeared, this secret would go out, and all of Alphabet Squadron discover that now. So all of a sudden, there's a big rift in them. So before they even have time to sort out what the heck just happened about her backstory and her history and all that, the Edict shows up on a nearby planet and they have to go, attack it. Now, Yrica stays behind because it's too awkward to lead the squadron right now. They kind of tell her that she needs to stay grounded because she's just going to be a distraction. So the rest of the squadron, all that's left with just Chas, Will, and Nath, because Kairos was shot down, and is in the Bacta tank right now. Irka decides eventually that once she's kind of sorted out what's going on with the battle, she's going to help. Will had received a message and kind of relayed it back and said, hey, Shadow Wing is here, and we, as much as it sucks right now, we kind of trust Irka to help us with Shadow Wing strategy. So she goes out there and she tries to help. It turns out that Karyn and the torture droid are both in the ship with her, but while she's out there trying to help with the battle, she realizes that one of the people who's fighting the battle in a TIE fighter is her former mentor, the one who told her to turn to the rebellion, and he's still out there clearly fighting with the Imperials again, so kind of messes with her. Eventually, this battle leads to the destruction of the Edict and the Lodestar, which is the ship of the New Republic. So both are gone, and they're destroyed, but all the major characters survive. They're just kind of all separated. Like, Irka's over here, Chas is over there, and Will and Nath are over here. And then obviously Kairos is still back. So what's next? Where are we at?
So now they're all separated. So Irka, Karyn, and the reprogrammed torture droid IT-0 or O, who's, you know, close with both of them. They're stranded on this really strange, like, cluster of debris near a celestial structure that's right near the black hole, and they're trying to get off. But Karyn is he's like barely alive after being shot and abducted. So that's kind of presenting a dilemma to them. So Chas, she is, you know, she won, but she got beat up pretty bad, and she ends up being picked up by this cult group of Force worshippers who are called the Children of the Empty Sun, and they basically imprison her on a ship where she escapes planetside, but she realizes that even when she gets to the planet, she's still in the heart of the cult.
Yeah.
Will and Nath regather themselves with what forces, you know, they still have available from the New Republic, and they start to teach the locals how to fight. And they know they're still on Troth, including Shadowing. So Soren simply gathered his forces, and he kind of sets up shop in this mining facility that's on the planet. And he has the help of an Imperial loyalist governor who's been promoted after the death of the last governor on Troith. So again, like, the political situation on Troith is very divided. It's very much, some people are Imperial loyalists, other people are like, no. And yeah, so where are we at after that, James?
Well, Karyn is still barely hanging on, right? They're kind of dragging his body all over the place. And while he's kind of in this state of barely hanging on, he ends up telling his origin story about being in a detention camp with Kairos. That's how they know each other. In order to escape the detention camp, they reprogrammed their torture droid to help them, and in turn, they kind of became this, like, emotional tripod. They're like three really close friends. So Irka and the torture droid, while Karyn is, you know, being dragged along, they discover this huge tower, which is actually an old ancient Sith temple. And while they're trying to suss out a way to get in, because it's likely the best way for them to get off of the planet, they think there's stuff inside that could help them get off. The only way to enter is through this, like, meditation ritual. They recognize that. So in order to try to get in, they come up with a plan that the torture droid is going to basically like medically induce acid trips to get her to, like, I don't know, like, trick her mind into a state which will allow the doors to open up. So yeah, it's kind of weird right there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while that's all happening, Chas is on her own little trip here with the cult members. And while she's there, she discovers that another member of Shadow Wing is in the same predicament she's in. They're both there together. At first, she wants to kill that person, but then they decide that they're going to work together to escape the cult, because they're free to go, but, you know, but they escape, and they end up escaping separately. She takes off her in a tie, and Chas gets her B-Wing back. So While she's on her way back, Will and Nath have decided to engage that mining facility that we were talking about earlier, where all the Imperials are, and they have a well-executed plan, and the New Republic then storms in with ground troops to take control of that Imperial base. Yeah.
Well,
we're nearing the end. We're nearing the end. It's all coming together.
We're almost there, guys. So the Imperials, they're, doing well, I guess you could say. But they're starting to realize, like, we're gonna lose this battle. And Sauron is he's been bound and determined to win this whole book, but he, is willing to accept defeat. And the governor is going to take the fall so that Shadowwing can escape, because that's, what an Imperial loyalist does. Mm-hmm. Chas returns to the battle, and she's had time to kind of process everything that happened. And she's able to go back to Alphabet Squadron again, especially since Yrica was not around, because you find out that they kind of have a history together. Yeah. But speaking of Yrica, she realizes that the torture droid lost its memory, and it's been pretty much straight up torturing her the entire time. So she destroys the droid, which is kind of one of the really exciting parts of the book. Yeah. And when asked about the whereabouts, when Karen wakes up, she makes up a little bit of a white lie, because, she knows that that droid just kind of went insane. That wasn't who it always was. Yeah. So she wants, him to have a good memory. And on that note, Karen actually passes away, and Yrica's left alone. But without all these bad influences, finally the Sith temple opens up to her, mm-hmm. which I think is very interesting. And she takes this old, ancient Sith ship, which actually sounds, when she's describing it inside, sounds pretty advanced. But she's been in there for whoever knows how long, and she takes that back to Troyth. Alphabet Squadron has successfully won the battle, and they had the help of Vanguard Squadron and a giant ship called the Temperance, which we're going to be seeing in the video game Squadrons, by recapturing what was left of the Imperial forces on the planet, except Shadowwing, of course, because they escaped. Yeah, because we have another book. Yrica shows up on the planet just in time to realize that her squadron members were not killed. She doesn't feel like landing, because she knows kind of what her fate would be. She'd just end up in this legal, purgatory in the New Republic. She doesn't know if she'd, go to prison for the rest of her life or whatever. So instead, she decides to follow Shadowwing. And Shadowwing is actually just joined up at the end of the book with Ray Sloane's Imperial contingent, where we know that they're kind of headed out.
She was, just to jump in, she was promoted to Grand Admiral in this book, so that helps kind of place when it takes place.
That's
as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So again, that is a very important thing to note, is that this is pre-Aftermath, so they're not kind of on their way out to the unknown regions yet. They're still trying to kind of rally and cause trouble for the New Republic. But the very end of the book is Yrica meeting back up with Sauron Keyes. Both of them didn't really know where the other one was the whole time. And all she says to Keyes is she's here to report for duty.
Yeah.
The end.
Yep.
Very good cliffhanger.
Yeah, surprise ending. That basically the leader of Alphabet Squadron, the name of the last two books, turns back to the Imperial side. And I don't know, kind of, like you said, sets up a cliffhanger. So we'll see what happens in the next book. But for now, we hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that, we reported it as best we could. And that if we got anything wrong, or whatever, put that stuff in the comments section, because, we can, if you're reading or watching the video and you want to go check the comments to see if we got everything right, feel free to correct us. We just finished the book, so we haven't had a whole lot of time to really go back and check every little detail. But what we do for Star Wars Newsnet is we also do book discussions. So while this is just kind of a recap of the story, we are also going to be doing a review that's spoiler filled, and then we're going to be discussing the book as a whole, and that is up on the Star Wars Newsnet channel right now. So if you want to check that out, head over to that video. I think it'll be in the end titles here in a second. But until then, Kyle, where can people find you online? You on Twitter?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, and you can also, and my handle is Kyle D. Larson, D as in dog. And you can also find, there will be a written review by myself at Star Wars Newsnet. It should be online the same time as this video goes live. So there's not really as many details in there. I try to keep it spoiler free. I usually try to do that. But that is another, I do kind of go over some of these points a little bit.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MeyerTrunks, and I will see you guys later.